Stonks! Fucking stonks, man. Man, fuck Wall Street, dude. Hi, what's up, everybody? It's Krim here for Sleepers for the Week. I wanted to bring you guys a new type of video thing here. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've been having struggles trying to create standalone video content for YouTube. I've been doing a lot of streaming. I've been spending a lot more time in my Discord, and it hasn't really left me a lot of time to edit and do videos for YouTube. I'm trying to get better, and I always say that, but I am trying to get better. I thought about doing these little compilation videos called Let's Jam and see if you guys dig it. Basically, it's going to be a combination of updates of what I'm doing as far as streaming and what I'm playing, things that I'm watching like certain anime, and other nerdy news that's been happening in my own little nerdy bubble that you may have already heard but wanted to bring up anyway and start discussions with you guys in the community. So without further ado, let's jump into it. First thing right off the bat, Final Fantasy VII turned 25. With the 25th anniversary of one of the best Final Fantasy games ever created, fight me in the comments. This is a Final Fantasy game that has stuck with me for ever since I first played it. Like, straight up, I never was into Final Fantasy beforehand. When I finally got myself a PlayStation 1, I went to a friend of mine and I said, dude, I've heard about these Final Fantasy games. Which is the best one to get? Which is the best one I need to play? He goes, dude with the spiky hair and the guy with the gun on his arm, get that one. You're gonna really enjoy that one. I was like, okay. So naive me, not knowing much about JRPGs really at that time, most of the RPGs I had ever played up until that point had been things on the computer, like Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gate style type CRPGs. And of course, I walk into EB Games, and as soon as I tell them that description, they immediately pull out 7, hand it to me. It's a greatest hit edition that I still have up on the shelf. $14.99. I was introduced to Final Fantasy for seemingly the first time. I remember being a lot younger and playing like Final Fantasy 1 on the NES. I remember that. But I remember being very confused and not knowing what to do with it. Honestly, probably because I was also very young. But Final Fantasy VII was my true introduction to Final Fantasy. And that, it's probably nostalgia glasses. I will admit that. I know probably a lot of people that say 7 is their favorite is probably because they're nostalgic to it. Either it's their first Final Fantasy they ever played, or it's the one that really just gripped them the most. That's kind of how it was for me. Story, music, setting, everything was so unique in Final Fantasy VII that it always stuck with me and it never went away. So it's always my favorite, and to see it turning 25 is mind-blowing. Honestly, if the polygons don't do it for you, because I will admit that 7 hasn't aged very well, if the polygons don't do it for you, I highly recommend getting Final Fantasy VII Remake. What a fantastic retelling of the story. Square knocked it out of the park, and for the longest time I had kind of moved on to other types of JRPGs and other companies that made RPGs, because after 7, I fell out of Final Fantasy probably shortly after 12 released. None of them ever captured the essence of 7, and I found other game series with other companies that I like more. Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, just to name a couple, top tier there. And I just didn't care about any Square Enix games after that point anymore. Like, I didn't play any Square Enix games, and finally when I saw 7 Remake coming out, I was like, okay, all right. And I played a little bit of 15, even though I got severely bored with 15. I appreciated that they were trying to change things up, and they're constantly trying to find that new perfect blend between action and turn-based, and 7 Remake does that. So if you're a fan of 7 at all, if you haven't played Remake yet, you really owe it to yourself to go play that game. Or if you just want to know what it's all about anyway, and you don't feel like going back and playing the original PlayStation 1 version, get Remake. It's highly worth it. I can't praise it enough. Honestly, I gave it a 9 out of 10, and there's some little things with it that are just nitpicky on my front, but honestly, it's a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic experience, and I highly recommend it. And I remember one of my biggest memories of Final Fantasy VII was being turned into a frog. That's a thing. Go play Remake, you'll enjoy it. And if you do dig the older school style stuff and you can look past some of the aged graphics, it's always a good time to play Final Fantasy VII. So happy anniversary, Final Fantasy VII. Batman can say fuck. That is right, everybody. Batman is getting R-rated. Everything's getting R-rated now, which honestly, I'm for it. I'm here for this train. I've been on this train for the longest time, and I'm not jumping off of it yet. The Snyder Cut. Let's talk about Justice League's Snyder Cut that's going to be coming out. A 4-hour movie. Was going to be cut into multiple episodes, and I was actually kind of looking forward to that, but now they just said fuck it, we're putting it all into one giant movie. We're returning the king, this bitch. But will it be as good as Return of the King? I don't know. An unpopular opinion, and this is coming from the guy who hates Kingdom Hearts, fight me in the comments. This I was a fan of Batman v Superman Extended Edition. The extended cut of Batman v Superman wasn't that bad. It was good enough. It made more sense. It really is kind of sad when you see how much of the studio edited out stuff from the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman. They should have just left it all in there like Snyder had it, because honestly, they cut literal plot out of the movie. And we all know the complete atrocity that was Justice League. Comparatively to like Marvel style stuff, Justice League was horrible. Like it was, and of course there's a lot that was behind the scenes that basically held that movie in just turmoil. And clearly it wasn't the movie that Snyder wanted to have out. I'm willing to see where it goes. I know a lot of people don't like the DC movies or the DC universe. They think it's kind of meh, which for the most part it has been kind of meh. I mean, really the best things that have come out of the DC universe have been Wonder Woman, the first movie. That's about it. And we're still kind of waiting for the pickup. And I honestly want to see what Snyder put into this 4-hour cut. I want to see closer to what his original vision was, because I mean, if it's good enough, it's good enough. Honestly, Batman v Superman extended cut made it good enough for me to go, that's better. That's a better movie. That's what should have been released. And I think it would have gained a lot more. I think it would have had a lot better reception. And I'm wondering if this is the same with Snyder Cut. But you'll be the first to hear from me whether it's shit or not, because if it's bad, I'll talk about it. If it's good, I'll still talk about it. Now, I don't really watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and especially with COVID, I think I've been watching more anime than anything. With everything going on in the world and being stuck in and quarantined, I have massively extended my anime repertoire in my watch list. I rarely watched regular TV or movies that have come out, but I will say that the series that I have been keeping up with is The Mandalorian. And if you haven't seen season 2 yet, you need to. I'm not going to spoil it here, but you need to go see season 2 if you have not watched The Mandalorian season 2. The Mandalorian has completely restored my faith in Star Wars. And probably because Disney gave it to some people who actually give a shit about the property. The way Star Wars had been going, it was getting to the point where I didn't care. Where I literally didn't care. If Disney wasn't gonna care, I'm not gonna care anymore. And Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni just swooped in and said, let us make some things. Let us make some things and let's make it right. And they did. And holy hell, it honestly has renewed my faith in Star Wars. Just give it to these guys. Just give it to them. You see what happened when Disney bought Marvel and they still let Marvel do their own thing, and Marvel kept people who gave a shit about the properties they were creating, made billions of dollars off of blockbuster films. You should have done that to Star Wars. Instead, like the Red Letter Media guys said, they gave Star Wars to some guy. They're like, here, hey, we got a decent, very safe start with Abrams. Now just give it to some guy who doesn't really give a shit about Star Wars and see what happens. I will still die on this hill. The Last Jedi is a piece of shit, and I don't care how controversial you like the things that happened in it. I don't care how many neat and cool scenes are popped in and sprinkled in throughout that movie. It is a shit Star Wars movie. It will always be a shit Star Wars movie, and it is the exact reason why the whole movie franchise sequels fell apart, completely apart. And literally, it's because you can go look it up. You can find proof. Rian Johnson literally didn't give two shits. He just wanted to make a science fiction movie. He was like, okay, I'll do that. I'll make a movie. They literally gave it to some guy. Now fast forward to The Mandalorian, and you've got Dave Filoni and you've got Jon Favreau. You've got people who give a shit about the property, who understand the fans, who understand people who've never seen Star Wars. They're creating things that people can enjoy without having to have any preconceived knowledge of Star Wars. And I know there's lots of people in the comments, because even with season 2, I've had all these people come out and be like, but Clone Wars. I'm very picky when it comes to my Star Wars. I know Clone Wars gets better. I'm not going to sit here and watch seven seasons of Clone Wars. I don't have time to sit here and do that. But I appreciate that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have pulled from these other aspects, and they've pulled from almost every aspect of Star Wars, and they've made a very good series, something that I want to see, something that I will continue to support and watch. So if you are a Star Wars fan and The Last Jedi left a bad taste in your mouth, or Star Wars in general has just left a bad taste in your mouth, I highly recommend watching The Mandalorian. Season 2 was a 10 out of 10. Season 1 was a 10 out of 10, and season 2 just went above that. It matches it, to be honest. Season 1 was a good 10 out of 10 for me. I was curious to see where it would go. Season 2 did not disappoint. So that's TV show wise. That's one, Mandalorian season 2. Second one is WandaVision. We finally are diving back into the MCU, and this time with a TV show. And this is what I've been worried about, because with The Mandalorian, even going into that, I was a little skeptical and worried, because I'm like, what are they doing? They're doing TV shows, they're not doing movies. Is the budget going to be good? Is it going to come off like a CW show? And at first I was a little worried about WandaVision. I'm not gonna lie. The first couple of episodes, I dug the 50s, 60s sitcom spin that they're doing on the plot and like what's going on with it. I like that because I grew up with like TV Land and them oldie shows, because my parents would watch them, and so like I've seen those things as a kid, like growing up. It like randomly here and there, and I didn't mind those shows. They're outdated as shit, and some people don't like that stuff, and I completely get it. I understand there's some people that would never ever turn on one of those kind of old 50s or 60s sitcom shows, and I can understand that. And that's where I think a lot of people were very hesitant to continue watching WandaVision. But I will say this, as of recording this right now, I'm on episode 4. Episode 4 starts to explain everything that's going on, and it's really well done. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm going to tell you, give it to episode 4. If you get to episode 4 and you're still like, I don't care, then don't worry about it. But normally I have a 3 episode limit. Normally for me, for anything, anime, TV shows, you got 3 episodes to hook me in. If you can't hook me in by the 3rd episode, I'm out. And the 4th one's where it hits. The 4th one for me is where it hits, and it's all starting to come together, and I see the grander scheme of things. And this is not a spoiler, because this has been talked about in like all the promotional material for it. WandaVision is supposed to lead into, or be part of leading into, the next Doctor Strange movie, which is called the Multiverse of Madness. I'm very curious to see how WandaVision is going to incorporate into Doctor Strange, because I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan. Now, mainly because of the MCU. I knew of Doctor Strange, growing up being a fan of Spider-Man and some other comics, but I never like dived into Doctor Strange until the MCU. Like straight up, MCU got me to be a Doctor Strange fan. And I'm very, very excited for the Multiverse of Madness. And I know Wanda plays a big part in that. So whatever we're going to see in this TV show is going to give us some hints towards the Doctor Strange movie. Probably will end in a cliffhanger to more Doctor Strange content, and however WandaVision like fits into that. So that's what I'm super excited for. And I will tell you this, stick in with it. It goes up. I'm just going to tell you the first 2 episodes. One's based on like a 50s show. The other one's based on a 60s show, 70s show. You get the idea. It keeps scaling up in the years. So if you're not a big fan of the black and white sitcom-y stuff, it's gonna start changing as you go. So stick with it and let me know what you think. Right now I'm enjoying it, but I will definitely let you know what I think in full once it's all said and done and we wrap it up. Gaming time! So here's the part where I bitch and moan and complain or praise games that I've been playing recently. Right now I'm currently playing the Medium, and I am having an absolute blast with this game. If you have an Xbox Series S or X, essentially the new Xbox, or Game Pass for PC, or PC in general, a gaming PC in general, because it's also on Steam and GOG, the Medium is awesome so far. I'm about 6 hours in, so I'll let you guys know in another episode video of what my full thoughts on the Medium is. So I'm about 6 hours in. I'm assuming the game isn't going to be very, very long, because it's very reminiscent of old school survival horror games, and that's what's really got me stoked for it. Stoked playing it too, because every time I get into the game, it's just nostalgia for me. It's got that same kind of like awkward camera view that you would get in like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, and you can't really like fight creatures per se, but it's very story driven, and I kind of like that about it. It's very story driven. It's got the interesting like split screen, two different worlds type of gameplay, where you have to do some things in the real world and some things in this like decrepit spiritual world, which reminds me a lot of Silent Hill. And the Mad Lads even got so much hype around this and talking about, I remember the interviews, how they talked about Silent Hill as a big influence for them. They actually got the composer, the original composer for Silent Hill, to work on the soundtrack for this game, which is probably why for me it's like nostalgia overload, because it's giving me those Silent Hill vibes. It's giving me that old school PlayStation 2 survival horror style gameplay, and it's got the composer for Silent Hill. So it's like, to me, it's like, mwah, chef's kiss. I'm loving it so far. Now, it could take a turn for the worse. The story could fall off a cliff, and it could be a very bad ending. I don't know yet, but I will let you guys know when I finish the game. And also, for a little, shameless plug, I've been streaming a lot, twitch.tv/SAFTW official. If you want to see me play the Medium, that's what I'm currently working on right now. So if you got Game Pass, it's worth it just to give it a shot anyway. If you've already got Game Pass, great deal, by the way. Just download it, try it out, see what you think. If you're a fan of survival horror and you like the Silent Hill series or those PS2 survival horror style games, I have a feeling you're going to really dig Medium, so check it out. On top of all of this, of course, I've been watching a shit ton of anime, and I won't go into too much detail here on reviews. I may still actually want to do reviews on these animes for sure, like make their own videos, but I want to let you guys know that there's several animes you definitely need to check out. One is on Netflix. It's called Dorohedoro, and I got recommended to this by LaChristie, and she said that it would probably be something right up my alley, and she was absolutely right. Dorohedoro is such a unique and different anime, and I am not one for the CG cell shaded type of 3D anime they've been doing recently. Okay, I'm not comparing Dorohedoro to Berserk 2016, but remember what you did to my boy. Remember what you did to my boy. I've had a horrible taste. It's been a horrible taste in my mouth. Every time I see that kind of CG in anime, I immediately am turned off. I immediately don't want to watch it. Like, I immediately am just like, don't do that. It just, to me, it doesn't look good. However, Dorohedoro, it matches very well. Now, there are still some things I don't like about it. It mainly is the action sequences. I feel like action sequences look better when they're more catered to the hand-drawn aspect. This one, they look like kind of clunky PS2 characters framing around and attacking each other. Still really good, interesting action. I just feel like it would look better if it was actually drawn. And Demon Slayer is a good example here. Remember, Demon Slayer is a digital anime. That is a CG anime, and it looks like that. It's beautiful. Demon Slayer is beautiful, and I feel like Dorohedoro could have took advantage more of that style, but I digress. Regardless of that, the storyline is epic. It's mature as hell. It's dark. It's violent, and it's over the top, and it's not anything like I've seen in a very long time. And honestly, it was kind of a breath of fresh air. I needed something like this that just broke the mold for me, and Dorohedoro did that for me. I highly recommend it. Go watch it if you got Netflix. support it because I would like to see more of it. I've heard, of course, everybody says the manga's better. I get it. Manga's typically always better than the anime most of the time, but I've got this TV series and I think it's done very well. And so far, the reception from what I've seen online, fans seem to like this pretty well. And I honestly would like to see where it goes. Like, I hope it doesn't die, and it doesn't. I hope that the reception continues to be good for it because I want to see where it goes. So if you're interested at all with just what I've told you, I'm not going to spoil anything on the plot. Basically, guy gets turned into a lizard head dude. He's trying to find a guy who casts a spell on him. Humans live in a place called the Hole, and there's sorcerers that experiment on humans, and they kind of like are like the upper echelon. They rule everything, and they experiment on humans, and it's all done in a very cyberpunk type style setting. It's amazing. Like, go watch it. Just go watch it. I did want to talk about more anime, but I am going to save that for actually reviews. I think I've made up my mind that I'm actually going to record some videos for some of the anime I've been watching and actually do full-fledged reviews on them, because even the Doro, I really enjoyed it, and I want to talk more about those things. So look forward to those whenever I can finally make them and put them together. That'll happen sometime. I thought this would be a very cool new segment, that a new video series I could do called Let's Jam, where I basically just kind of recap over everything I've been doing, recap over the games I've been playing, just some nerdy news and things I've been watching, and you know, just enough to stir up some talk and you know, get you guys interested in maybe some things that you don't know about, or maybe if it's something you do know about, you can discuss with me in the comments below, and just kind of have it more of a community talk, you know. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'll definitely be back with another one whenever I've got more stuff to talk about. And until then, you guys stay safe, wash your damn hands, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys. Bye!